Hi, my name is Zaya Settle. This is my presentation on Doc Martens taking a step towards a new generation for the IMC Data Marketing Analysis class. First up, we have the table of contents, just basically outlines the way that the presentation will move forward. Next, we have the executive summary. So, just as a project overview, Dr. Martens is seeing a steady decline in profits. The decline began in 2024 and has now set a trend that is expected to follow in the years to come. In order to combat these profit losses, a new set of strategies needs to be implemented to engage a new audience, and in this case, the audience will be Gen Z. A quantitative survey was created and released to understand what tactics can be implemented to attract Gen Z audience members, and this data will lay the foundation for Dr. Martens to push through the decline and begin rising their profits once more. Here on the right is data pulled straight from the Dr. Martens PLC annual report, which kind of shows how their profits began at a higher number and has steadily declined. For the background, Dr. Martens has been known to be the brand who attract people who have their own individual style, but ultimately share a united spirit. They're authentic, stand up for the things they believe in, possess a proud sense of self expression, those who are different. They have become a beloved boot and sandal company and kind of built on those foundations of freedom and self expression. However, this doesn't exactly work with Gen Z consumers as they aren't tied to brand loyalty and instead they care about brands based on youth culture and often social responsibility, sustainability, and eco issues. The ultimate management problem that has been uncovered is that Dr. Martens needs to understand audience perceptions among fashion forward Gen Z audiences to better engage and adjust marketing strategies, which will lead to increased profits. The research framework is as follows. Why? It's because Dr. Martens is struggling financially and will continue to do so unless something is done. What? The research will provide insight into what Gen Z audiences are looking for and how Doc Martens can adapt to those methods. Who? The targeted demographic of this research will be fashion forward Gen Z audience members. Fashion forward members, at least in this research, will be those who consider their fashion sense a top priority. When? The data will be collected starting in 2021, which is 2 years prior to the financial decline, as shown on that first executive summary slide, and will be conducted over a 6-month period beginning in June and ending in December. This timeline is specific to any concerts, outdoor events, as well as holiday shopping in order to try to pull in any outside issues. Where? A quantitative survey will be released via the internet on social media platforms, including X, which was formerly Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, Facebook, and TikTok. How? In-depth research on the company's financial decline and where most problems arise, as well as detailed research on Gen Z's preferred marketing touchpoints. So beginning in on the secondary resource data, some of the key findings from one of the articles that is heavily cited through this would be Spend Z. They found that Gen Z is the largest generation that will ever exist. They are the least Western generation. And they also are going to be one of the biggest and wealthiest groups, even more so than millennials. The data on the side there will show the expected spending as known by 2023 or 2030, excuse me. And Gen Z actually hits third in this data, which is a really big percentage. This data was found in a collaboration between NIQ, GFK, and the World Data Lab. They used national surveys and national statistics from household spending, as well as any statistical assumptions to fill in the gaps. And the key findings that were provided from this piece is that it's relevant to understand where Gen Z will sit financially as the generation continues to grow. The second piece of secondary resource data is found from the article How Gen Z and Gen Alpha Are Rewriting the Fashion Industry. This data was found by the analysis of over 9,000 U.S. consumer survey responses, as well as over 50,000 posts on social media and 10 in-depth one-to-one interviews with members of younger generations. This piece really focuses on Gen Z's connection to brands and their expected loyalty. It shows how in the digital world opinions towards brands are changing. Gen Z no longer feel obligated to buy from the brands that are known as historic. Dr. Martens has relied on that type of consumer for a long time. And so they must focus on moving forward. The data on the right here shows the difference in millennials versus Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and how they kind of see their brand loyalty and whether or not they will stick to a brand based on a product. As for the quantitative data results and the relevancy, the data that was received from the quantitative survey provided detailed insights into how Gen Z perceives Dr. Martens, what social media platforms Gen Z audiences are most likely to engage with, purchasing behaviors that Gen Z knowingly or unknowingly have, and it also provided a practical ground layer for steps that Dr. Martens can begin taking. For example, engaging with other social media trends, specific celebrity/influencer collaborations, personal styles, channels of messages that will be the most effective, and in-store or online promotions for new and repeat customers. Now, this is relevant because having this knowledge allows Dr. Martens to begin its push into a new section of its audience. The quantitative survey provides Dr. Martens with a deeper understanding of what their audiences want and what will provide them with the financial boost that they're searching for. The piece of data on the side comes directly from the survey, and it includes those who respond to how they feel, how familiar they are with Dr. Martens as a brand. Next is more data from the quantitative survey. The two data sets were pulled, and they both relate directly to how audience members perceive both themselves and the products that they have purchased from Dr. Martens. This data provides Doc Martens with an insight into what styles they could move towards, even in small-scale trials, as well as a look into the longevity of their current products. As you can see there on the side, even though there were 7 options for a personal style, most of the responses came through said that they feel it as though they are just casual. And then the Dr. Martens, for those who have owned the product, a majority of them have had it for over 4+ years. This data was also pulled from the quantitative survey. Word of mouth is one of the most powerful tools in marketing, and this is shown directly in the first piece of data on the left. However, that doesn't discount the high number of responses from both online searches and social media. All of these together provide a unique insight into how Dr. Martens can work to market themselves in more than one way. This also leads into the next data set on the right, which explains the social media channels that are best for Dr. Martens to begin using. TikTok sits at number 1, which is generally to be expected with Gen Z audiences. And while Dr. Martens has a current account on the platform, the content doesn't necessarily fit into what Gen Z audience members are looking to see from the brands they want to purchase from. This piece of data reflects the question, what marketing strategies appeal the most to you, with instructions for participants to rank 1 to 7, with 1 being the most important. While this chart may appear overwhelming, it is an integral part to understanding how Doc Martens can meet their customers where they want to be met. Surprisingly, the first place response was in-store promotions. This, while understandable, does create some issue for Doc Martens, as they have very few standalone stores across the country. However, this does open the door to possible in-app discounts that can be applied at the stores where the shoes are sold. This was followed by social media in second, text communications in third, email communications in fourth, influencer or celebrity partnerships in fifth, direct mail in sixth, and other in seventh, but this had no written responses. These open-ended responses were generated from the quantitative survey. Both large circles in the center provide the open-ended question, with the small circles providing the participants' written answers. The one on the left, how would you describe the Dr. Martens brand? Responses received included stylish and high quality, comfortable, chic, classic. Pretty much that was the only ones that I got back from that. The circle on the right, what would encourage you to purchase a pair of Doc Martens? Though that one received more responses than any other open-ended question, including new styles, better deals, designer or brand collabs, lower costs, as well as one that stated if everyone, quote unquote, started wearing them with cute outfits, which was very interesting and is very crucial in the overall standing for how Doc Martens can begin to shape themselves into a marketable brand for Gen Z. If Gen Z members see other Gen Z members wearing the shoes in a way that is natural and authentic, they will begin to buy the shoes. The next piece of the study is the qualitative research study recommendation. So for this, the methodology that is being suggested, it will provide Dr. Martens with a deeper and more practical understanding of the thoughts and feelings that Gen Z audiences have without some of those issues and barriers that come with just using a quantitative survey. The target audience will be fashion forward Gen Z audience members. Fashion forward, again, defined as embracing new ideas and trends, someone who really focuses on their own personal fashion sense. And these participants will preferably have connections to some of the quote unquote fashion capitals of the United States, including New York, Los Angeles, and Miami. They will preferably be middle to upper middle class individuals. The research location will be held in person, as this setting will likely aid most of the research. It will be held in Los Angeles, California. This is one of the only locations in the U.S. that has a standalone store. However, the focus group will be held in an unbranded office building, where sponsors will have the ability to watch the session as it takes place. The key findings in this focus group are going to be what the sponsors can really take from what Gen Z audiences want. They have to know what Gen Z audiences already know and what they need to push harder to make sure they do. So, in conclusion, as shown through the primary and secondary research results, Doc Martens has the tools available to attract the attention of Gen Z audiences. By focusing on a modern digital approach, displaying brand values, and creating stylish shoes fit for the generation, Dr. Martens could begin its ascent into Gen Z's spotlight. These youth-forward campaigns will begin rising Gen Z's attention and attraction, thus raising the number of shoes bought and overall profits for Doc Martens. The recommendations that are being sent to the brand include begin using own social media accounts on platforms such as Instagram and TikTok, and participating in online trends that will boost attention and attract new possible customers, as well as partnering with micro-influencers and celebrity collaborations. This will reinstate Doc Martens as a youthful and fresh brand. They also will begin collaborations with live music venues or festivals, with pop-up shops allowing attendees to the opportunity to shop on site. Those can be bought in person and kept in that moment, or they can be shipped to specified locations in order to not make the consumer carry around the shoes if they choose not to. They also will need to create and release a new brand messaging campaign centered around authenticity, sustainability, inclusion, creativity, fashion, and self-expression. All of the things that are most important to Gen Z. Thank you. And here are my references.